Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. So today I wanted to talk about the grade 2 RCM requirements as well as the ABRSM requirements because they're pretty similar. So I just figured we'd lump one video together and talk about everything. So we are going to talk about the technical requirements. We're going to talk about the songs and the different categories of songs you have to learn, and then we're going to talk about the ear and sight tests and things like that are expected. And also I'll do a little bit of discussion on the how everything is marked and weighted for a grade 2 test. So for those of you who don't know, the RCM and the ABRSM are the two standard schools of music education in Canada and States and in Europe. I will also leave a link to the syllabi below so you can check those out if you are interested in them, because we're going to be using them a lot today when we talk about stuff. So when you're learning piano, grade 2 RCM or ABRSM generally corresponds with your 4th year of learning if you're a kid. But if you're an adult, things move a little bit faster usually. So generally grade 2 is somewhere around your 2nd year of taking piano. It kind of depends on how hard you work. As far as overall development of skills, grade 1 and 2 have tons in common. Grade 2, honestly, is more just a slightly harder version of grade 1. There's not a lot of brand new elements introduced, just accelerated and amplified versions of the same elements you did in grade 1. So it's all about developing hand independence more so than grade 1. It's all about developing expressive playing, and the pedal work becomes a little bit more complicated, things like that. So to me, grade 1 is all about just diving in, and it's a pretty big jump from preparatory to grade 1 level. So a lot of it is spent just fine-tuning skills like reading a diverse amount of notes and being able to read complicated syncopated rhythms and stuff like that. So by the time you hit grade 2, a lot of that becomes much, much easier. So then I like to shift the focus to playing with that and swimming in the pool of many different genres, everything from calypso to baroque and whatever you can think of. For the grade 2 exams, 4 pieces need to be prepared for the RCM, list A, B, C, and a study or pop song. And for grade 2 exams for ABRSM, it's just going to be 3 songs, an A, B, and a C. List A pieces are extremely similar between the RCM and ABRSM, and the options are Baroque and classical period music. Just songs by guys like Mozart and Handel and Bach and those fun guys. To me, these pieces are the most difficult of all the different categories because mainly since they're old, right? So the style is a little foreign to modern musicians. And they also require precision of playing, and both hands are usually doing completely different things. So it makes it more difficult, but it also is really good at building hand independence. So this is one thing I talked about in the grade 1 version of this video, but one of the biggest remedies to the boring problem of the list A pieces is to just research them and learn about them. I mean, for the most part, music that we like is music that we care about. We understand the era it was written, and we understand the person who composed them. We understand something about the style. So I know a title like Minuet in G isn't as exciting as a title like, I don't know, like Fireflies or, something more colorful and expressive. But if you don't know what a minuet is, it means nothing to you. It's that's what causes the boredom, I think. So if you have an idea in your head of okay, I know what to expect with a minuet. Okay, I know what to expect with Mozart. Okay, I know what to expect with Baroque/classical era music, then it's going to give you more context, and that itself is a big motivator. Next up are the ListBees. In the ABRSM and the RCM, they're modern-ish tunes, and they encompass basically anything from romantic era music all the way up to music from the 21st century. So in this section, you'll get music by guys like Schumann or Bartok, or more modern guys like Christopher Norton. The fun thing about the ListBees is that the style range is super, super diverse, and the selection, if you're looking at the RCM syllabus anyway, is huge. There's probably scanning. These are all ListBees. There's probably somewhere in the ballpark of 100 songs that you can choose from. So my students tend to really, really like the ListBees the best, not only because there's so much diversity, but also because it sounds a little bit more familiar and a little bit more modern. And there really is something for everyone. And we're just looking, this is the ABRSM syllabus right here. You have 6 options, so the options are a little bit more limited, but some people like that, so that's why I like to show them both. So the list C pieces are where the RCM and ABRSM diverge a little bit. So in the RCM, the list C pieces, you see they're labeled as inventions. So basically what this means is these are pieces where the left hand and right hand do a little imitation dance as opposed to sort of the standard chords and melody thing. So it's a pretty difficult technique. but it's a great gateway to more challenging Baroque pieces like Bach's Inventions or some of those. So I think they're really worth studying, and I do like that the RCM includes those, whereas the ABRSM ListBees are a lot more like the RCM studies. They're little finger exercises and technical patterns and stuff like that, and the genres are really diverse. Like some of these songs are modern, some of them are really old, but they're all intended to develop like one particular technical skill. So this is one of the aspects where the RCM exams are a little bit different because they have different technical requirements. So not only do you have to do scales and stuff like that, which are the technical tests, but you also have to choose a fourth piece, which is your etude, or in English that would be study. And these are what I was describing as the ABRSM List Cs. These are all songs that are meant to work on one particular technical skill. Like maybe there's one song that's based on playing really, really fast, or maybe one song is built on fifths, or maybe one song's built on developing good staccato playing, just different things like that. The RCM also has what is sort of like a almost like secret fifth category. Instead of doing a study for your exam, you can do a pop song, and you can find all this online. I'll link everything below, but you can look at the pop syllabus and find like a song you might have heard before to play for your exam. Like just kind of casually glancing through some of the level 2 songs, there's probably like, Wizard of Oz songs and rock songs like Pretty Woman and stuff like that you can do. And what I like about this list too is it tells you all the different books that these songs come from. So if you're even just like looking for a new book that might be at your level, this pop syllabus is super, super handy. So let's take a look at the technical requirements for RCM first, and then we'll look at ABRSM. It's very similar in a lot of ways to grade 1 stuff, kind of like everything we've already been looking at with the music, whereas the music's just sort of like an amped up version of grade 1. The same thing is true with the technical tests, but there are a couple new things. Like you have a couple new keys to do, B flat major and G minor, and aside from that, you have a whole new scale type to do, melodic minor scales, which are like a whole other beast, and we'll actually talk about that pretty soon because they're a little scary, but they're kind of cool. And another brand new thing that you have to do to grade 2 level for RCM are formula patterns, and these are kind of like, I don't know, like scales gone wild. They're kind of fun. They're again a big learning curve at first to figure out what the pattern is, but they're cool. We'll talk about those in the future as well. But everything else here you've already done if you've gone through grade 1 level stuff. You've done chromatic scales, you've done tonic triads and solid triads and all those things. So it's mostly the same story with the ABRSM syllabus, where there's a couple new scales to contend with, like you have an E major contrary motion scale and stuff like that, but for the most part it's just like a minor step up from grade 1. The scales are a little bit faster, you have a little bit more to do, like arpeggios are brand new at a grade 2 level for ABRSM, and that's something that isn't in the RCM. I think until grade 3, I might be wrong, I haven't looked at that in a while. You also have to start contending with the melodic minor scales for ABRSM grade 2, so there's no escaping those beasts. So the final part of study in any grade system, or even if you're not doing grades, they're useful, are sight reading and ear tests. So right now we're looking at the RCM syllabus for sight reading, and there's 2 components of it. One, you have to look at a rhythm and clap it, and this just kind of gives you all the details of what you would expect if you were doing that. And then the second part of it is that you have to look at some music and then play it. So this is going to be simpler than the type of songs that you learn for a grade 2 level. Generally, they level down the sight reading about 2 grades. So this would be like preparatory reading you'll have to do. So it's all 5-finger position. It's about 4 bars long. And it's very, very similar with ABRSM. This is from the syllabus for that, where it tells you these are the keys you're going to have to know. These are the keys you're going to have to be able to read. And these are the rhythms you might see. Ear tests between the RCM and ABRSM are quite a bit different. So I want to go through both individually for a moment here. So for the RCM, this is just a list of the things you're expected to do. You have to do this for both ones, which is a clapback. So the examiner is going to play something on the piano, you're going to listen to it, and then you are going to clap the rhythm you hear. They really like hearing rhythmic accents and stuff like that, just as a little tip. You're going to have to be able to identify these 3 different intervals, major and minor thirds and perfect fifths, which are just fifths for all intents and purposes, and then major and minor chords, which identifying these by ear are very, very similar to identifying major and minor thirds. So the study of both of those kind of goes together. And then finally, you kind of have the creme de la creme, the playback. So this is where the examiner plays something on the piano, and then you have to the best of your ability, copy it. But they don't just like randomly hit a bunch of notes and not give you any information. It's going to be 5 notes. It's going to be in one of these keys, and they're going to tell you the note they start on. So they're not going to leave you in the dark. Now, the ABRSM ear test has 4 different components. So the first one is similar to the RCM. You have to clap the beat of something that they play. This is where things get a little crazy if you're not like super comfortable with singing. You have to sing an echo. So it's almost like the examiner's going to play something and then you have to like copy it with your voice it's like a little bit of a pitch test. This one's kind of fun right here. I do this with my students sometimes where I play something twice and then the second time something's a little bit different and then they have to kind of figure out, okay, what changed, where was it, etc. And then the last and final one for ABRSM is this is a little bit more involved, I think, than like it's a lot more broad than the type of things that you have to do with RCM. So they're going to play something and then they're going to ask you questions about it, like dynamics and speed and articulation and stuff like that. So you have to be able to analyze a short fragment of music by ear. So I want to talk a little bit about percentages and how everything's weighted for the exam. So I just have them side by side so we can compare and contrast a little bit. So the percentage that you get for the pieces, in this case 3 pieces for the RCM and 3 for the ABRSM, they're weighted really, really similarly. The major difference is that the pieces collectively are worth 56 marks on the RCM and they're worth 90 marks on ABRSM. So this whole test is out of 150, whereas RCM is just out of 100. So they just do marks a little bit differently. Another thing that the RCM does that ABRSM doesn't is that 6% of this is awarded for memorizing. So if you memorize all 3 of these songs, you basically just get like a free 6%. Now, where the biggest difference is with the technique. So 24% of your RCM mark is technique, whereas only 14 is ABRSM. And there's one big reason for that. It's because of the extra song you have to do in RCM, which is labeled under technique. It's the etude, it's the study that you have to learn, which is 12%, and then the other 12% is that like the scales and stuff. So this 12% number is very similar to this 14% number, which is the ABRSM scales and stuff. If you're looking at it from a perspective of what it takes to pass, the ABRSM is a little bit tougher, like you have to have a slightly higher mark, but I have not seen marks this low pretty much ever, especially at a grade 2 level. If you're prepared, you will pass. It's just a matter of how well will you pass, but even a student who is mediocre at best tends to get a mark in the 70s, I find. And just to talk about the syllabus for another second here, this thing I've had on the screen at various points in this video is the official RCM syllabus, and it's super useful. Again, I say this a lot, but even if you're not doing an exam, you're not planning on that, it's a really useful resource to give you a sense of structure and maybe the things that you should be working on and mastering as a piano player, but it also gives you this like epic song list. So if you're looking for pieces at a particular level, you can come here and not only does it tell you like a song that is at that level, but it tells you what book it's from and who the publisher is. So super, super amazing, handy resource that I use all the time. So I'm going to do another video soon here about grade 2 level books that I find really useful, and then we can talk about that. So whether or not you're doing a grade 2 exam or you're just kind of interested in learning at pieces at this level, I hope this video has been a little bit helpful for you. Again, I'll link the syllabus and everything down below so you can take a look at those song lists and stuff if you're looking for new books or want to do things like that. I'm also going to do a new video soon with the grade 2 level technique, both for ABRSM and RCM. And we'll talk about things like the formula pattern and the melodic minor scale, like some of those new concepts that are like a little weird at first, but kind of fun to do. Thank you for watching this video. Send it a like if you enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys next time. Whoa, get that tail out of my face. Come.